Have you noticed how some people walk into your life and somehow trigger every hidden wound you thought you buried? What if I told you your soulmate may already know exactly what hurts you the most? And what if the strange silence, the mixed signals, the sudden distance, the emotional push and pull were never accidents? Your soulmate has been secretly testing you to see if you are truly the one. Stay until the end, because later in this video, I'm going to reveal the final test almost nobody passes, and it changes everything. If this message reaches you at the perfect time, subscribe right now, like this video, and comment, "I am ready for real love." Because something deeper is happening in your connection than you realize. Most people think soulmates are supposed to feel easy. Instant chemistry. Perfect communication. Constant peace. But real soulmate connections are rarely comfortable in the beginning. Why? Because your soulmate is not sent into your life just to make you feel butterflies. They are sent to reveal who you truly are. A soulmate does not only look at your smile. They study your reactions, your patience, your honesty, your emotional maturity, the way you act when you feel ignored, the way you handle confusion, the way you respond when things don't go your way. And sometimes they test you without even realizing they are doing it. Psychologists call this emotional pattern recognition. Spiritually, some people call it soul recognition. Either way, the human heart naturally searches for safety before surrendering completely. Think about it. When someone feels deeply connected to you, they become afraid. Not because they hate you, because they finally see someone who could actually hurt them emotionally. That's why your soulmate may suddenly pull away after getting close. Not because they stopped caring, because they are watching what you do next. Do you panic? Do you become controlling? Do you chase desperately? Or do you remain grounded, calm, and emotionally secure? That reaction tells them everything. Many soulmate connections fail right here. Not because the love wasn't real. Because one person was seeking validation instead of connection. A soulmate test often begins with silence. A delayed text. A cancelled plan. A sudden emotional distance. And most people fail because they immediately assume rejection. But emotionally healthy people understand something powerful. Real love is not proven through panic. It is proven through emotional stability. Your soulmate may secretly be asking themselves, can this person handle uncertainty without destroying the connection? Can they trust me without controlling me? Can they love without manipulation? And here's the scary part. You are also testing them at the same time. Every soulmate relationship becomes a mirror. That's why these connections feel intense. They expose insecurity fast. They reveal attachment wounds quickly. They force healing you avoided for years. You may think your soulmate appeared to complete you. But spiritually, they often arrive to confront you. Sometimes your soulmate will intentionally challenge your ego. You might share something vulnerable, and they won't immediately respond how you expected. You may open your heart and suddenly feel emotionally exposed. This is where many people shut down. They become cold, defensive, detached. But your soulmate is watching one thing. Can you remain authentic even when you feel emotionally unsafe? That is one of the deepest soulmate tests of all. Because fake love survives only during comfort. Real love survives vulnerability. And vulnerability terrifies people. Especially people who were betrayed before. Abandoned before. Ignored before. Cheated on before. A soulmate connection often activates old emotional pain that has nothing to do with the current person. That's why you suddenly overthink everything. That's why their silence feels louder than anyone else's silence. That's why one small misunderstanding feels emotionally overwhelming. Your soul recognizes the importance of the connection before your mind fully understands it. And sometimes your soulmate tests whether you can separate fear from reality. Can you communicate clearly instead of assuming the worst? Can you ask questions instead of creating stories in your mind? Can you stay emotionally open without needing constant reassurance? These are soulmate-level lessons. Because real love requires emotional courage. One hidden test your soulmate may give you is inconsistency. Now listen carefully. There's a difference between emotional manipulation and emotional uncertainty. Manipulative people play games for control. Soulmates sometimes become inconsistent because the connection scares them too. That's why they move close, then far. Open up, then disappear emotionally. Show affection, then become distant. Not because the connection is fake. Because intensity can overwhelm people who are not fully healed. And your reaction becomes part of the test. Do you respond with understanding or ego? Do you become toxic when confused? Do you punish them emotionally for pulling away? Your soulmate is secretly looking for emotional safety. Not perfection. Safety. That means they are watching how you treat them during difficult moments, not easy moments. Anyone can act loving when everything feels perfect. But what about when misunderstandings happen? What about when emotions become messy? What about when expectations are not met? That is where true character appears. A soulmate wants to know. Can you protect the connection instead of trying to win arguments? And honestly, most people cannot. Most people care more about being right than being emotionally connected. That's why relationships collapse. Not because love disappeared. Because ego became louder than understanding. Your soulmate may test whether you know how to listen. Not listen to reply. Listen to understand. Because emotionally mature love requires presence. Sometimes your soulmate will tell you something small that actually means something huge. I need space. I've been stressed lately. I don't know what I feel. Most people hear rejection. But emotionally intelligent people hear fear, pressure, confusion, exhaustion, or emotional overwhelm. The hidden test becomes this. Can you respond with emotional wisdom instead of emotional panic? And that changes everything. Spiritually, soulmate connections are often designed to evolve both people. Not entertain them. That means your soulmate may unknowingly trigger lessons you were meant to learn years ago. Maybe you need to learn patience. Maybe boundaries. Maybe self-worth. Maybe emotional discipline. Maybe forgiveness. Because without those things, even soulmate love becomes unstable. Here's something most people never realize. Your soulmate is not only attracted to your beauty or personality. They are deeply attracted to your energy. And energy is revealed most clearly under pressure. Anyone can pretend to be kind for a few weeks. Anyone can fake confidence temporarily. Anyone can perform emotionally. But pressure reveals truth. When tension appears, your real emotional patterns come out. That's why soulmate tests often feel uncomfortable. They expose emotional habits you didn't know controlled you. Maybe you become clingy when afraid. Maybe avoidant when vulnerable. Maybe angry when insecure. Maybe emotionally distant when hurt. And your soulmate notices all of it. Not to judge you. To understand whether the connection can survive reality. Because long-term love is not built on attraction alone. It is built on emotional resilience. One of the most painful soulmate tests is timing. Sometimes your soulmate enters your life when one or both of you are emotionally unprepared. And this creates confusion. The connection feels powerful. The chemistry feels undeniable. But life circumstances become complicated. distance, fear, past trauma, career struggles, family problems, emotional baggage. Suddenly the relationship feels blocked. And many people think, if they were truly my soulmate, this would be easy. No, some soulmate connections are meant to teach before they fully unite. Your soulmate may secretly be testing whether you can grow without becoming bitter. Can you continue healing even during uncertainty? Can you trust divine timing instead of forcing outcomes? Can you become the version of yourself capable of healthy love? Because sometimes separation is preparation. And that truth hurts. Especially when you deeply love someone. But spiritually, forced growth often creates lasting transformation. Your soulmate may also test your honesty. Not only with them, with yourself. Are you pretending to be emotionally healed when you are not? Are you asking for loyalty while entertaining toxic behavior yourself? Are you demanding communication while refusing vulnerability? Soulmate connections expose hypocrisy quickly. Because these relationships operate like mirrors. The energy you give eventually returns directly to you. That's why some people feel emotionally shaken after meeting their soulmate. The connection forces self-awareness. And self-awareness is uncomfortable. Your soulmate may unknowingly reveal parts of yourself you avoided for years. Jealousy, fear of abandonment, need for validation, fear of intimacy, difficulty trusting. Not because they created those wounds. Because they exposed them. And this becomes another hidden test. Can you heal without blaming them for everything you feel? That question separates emotional maturity from emotional chaos. Now here where things become even deeper. Sometimes your soulmate tests whether you truly love them, or just love how they make you feel. That's a massive difference. Many people become addicted to attention, excitement, and emotional intensity. But real love is not obsession. Real love is not emotional possession. Real love is not constant anxiety. Real love includes freedom, respect, trust, patience. Your soulmate may secretly observe whether you respect their individuality. Can they have space without you taking it personally? Can they grow without you becoming threatened? Can they disagree with you without emotional punishment? Healthy love requires emotional security. And insecure love eventually suffocates connections. One powerful soulmate test involves boundaries. People think boundaries push love away. Actually, healthy boundaries protect love. Your soulmate may watch how you respond when they say no. Do you become defensive, cold, manipulative, or respectful? Because true love cannot exist without respect. And respect becomes visible during disappointment. This is why spiritually evolved people understand something important. Love without emotional maturity becomes destruction. No matter how strong the chemistry feels. Your soulmate may also test whether you truly see them. Not the fantasy version. The real version. Their flaws. Their fears. Their emotional scars. Their imperfections. Many people claim they want soulmate love. But secretly, they only want idealized perfection. Real soul connections require acceptance of human complexity. And that means your soulmate may reveal difficult parts of themselves intentionally or unintentionally. Maybe they become emotionally withdrawn sometimes. Maybe they struggle communicating feelings. Maybe they carry trust issues from painful experiences. And your reaction matters deeply. Because they are asking themselves silently, will this person weaponize my vulnerability later? Will they judge me for my imperfections? Will they stay emotionally safe during difficult seasons? That is a soulmate test most people never notice. A lot of soulmate relationships collapse because one person keeps demanding perfection while offering little grace. But spiritually aligned love understands healing is a process, not a performance. And now we need to talk about the most dangerous soulmate test of all. The test of self-worth. Sometimes your soulmate pulls away to see if you abandon yourself trying to keep them. This happens more than people realize. You start overgiving, over-explaining, over-chasing, over-sacrificing. Slowly, you begin losing your identity inside the connection. And spiritually, this becomes a lesson. Because soulmate love is not supposed to destroy your self-respect. Your soulmate may unconsciously test whether you can love deeply without betraying yourself. That means maintaining standards, boundaries, self-respect, emotional balance. Real love should expand your soul, not erase it. And the people who pass soulmate tests are not the people who beg the hardest. They are the people who remain emotionally grounded while loving authentically. That balance is rare. Many people either become emotionally unavailable or emotionally dependent. But soulmate energy asks for something higher. Emotional interdependence. Two whole people choosing connection consciously. Not two broken people trying to complete each other desperately. This is why soulmate relationships often feel spiritual. They force transformation. They challenge ego. They expose emotional wounds. They teach forgiveness, patience, communication, self-awareness. And sometimes they completely change your understanding of love itself. Now here comes the mini cliffhanger I warned you about earlier. There is one final soulmate test that almost nobody recognizes until it is too late. And this test decides whether the connection evolves or collapses permanently. The final test is this. Can you love without controlling the outcome? That's the hardest lesson of all. Most people say they want love, but secretly they want certainty. They want guarantees, immediate clarity, constant reassurance, total emotional control. But soulmate connections rarely work that way. Because spiritually, these relationships teach surrender. Not surrender to toxicity, not surrender to disrespect, but surrender to the understanding that love cannot be forced. You cannot force healing. You cannot force timing. You cannot force emotional readiness. And your soulmate may secretly be watching whether you understand that. Can you allow the connection to unfold naturally? Can you trust yourself even during uncertainty? Can you remain emotionally balanced without needing constant validation from them? That level of emotional maturity is magnetic. And ironically, people who stop trying to control soulmate connections often experience the deepest transformation inside them. Because desperation pushes love away. But emotional wholeness invites deeper connection naturally. Psychologically, emotionally secure people create safer relationships. Spiritually grounded energy attracts alignment. That's why healing yourself matters so much. Your soulmate is not only testing whether you love them. They are testing whether you know how to love in a healthy way. And maybe you have been doing the exact same thing to them without realizing it. Maybe both of you are silently asking, can this connection survive truth, fear, distance, growth, imperfection, time? Because real soulmate love is not fantasy. It is emotional evolution. And sometimes the connection only stabilizes after both people stop trying to win love and finally learn how to nurture it. So if you've been confused lately, if someone entered your life and triggered emotions you cannot explain, if the connection feels beautiful and terrifying at the same time, you may not be losing your mind. You may be experiencing a soul-level mirror forcing you to grow. And maybe the tests were never about proving your worth. Maybe they were revealing your emotional readiness. Before you leave, comment below. What lesson has love been teaching you lately? I read the comments carefully, and your story may help someone else feel less alone tonight. If this video spoke directly to your soul, subscribe now, like this video, and share it with someone who needs clarity about their connection. And remember this carefully. A true soulmate does not enter your life to destroy you. They enter your life to reveal the version of you that still needs healing before real love can fully stay. And there's something even deeper most people never talk about. Sometimes your soulmate tests you through jealousy. Not childish jealousy. Not toxic games. But subtle moments designed to reveal what truly lives inside your heart. Maybe they mention someone else casually. Maybe they become more social suddenly. Maybe they stop giving you constant attention for a while. And immediately, fear wakes up inside you. You start comparing yourself, overthinking, questioning your value. But the hidden lesson is not about competition. It is about confidence. Your soulmate may unconsciously be asking, do you know your worth without needing constant reassurance from me? That question changes everything. Because healthy love cannot grow inside constant insecurity. And this is why some soulmate connections become emotionally exhausting. Not because the love is fake. Because both people are still fighting old emotional battles inside themselves. One person fears abandonment. The other fears vulnerability. One runs when things get serious. The other chases harder when things become uncertain. And suddenly, the connection turns into emotional chaos. But spiritually, chaos often reveals where healing is still needed. This is why emotionally aware people stop asking, why are they doing this to me? And start asking, what is this connection trying to teach me about myself? That mindset shift is powerful. Because once you stop seeing soulmate tests as punishment, you begin seeing them as revelation. And revelation changes people forever. Maybe your soulmate triggered your fear of rejection because you were meant to finally heal it. Maybe they exposed your people-pleasing habits because you forgot your own value. Maybe they challenged your patience because you were used to controlling outcomes. Sometimes the connection itself becomes spiritual training. And the people who grow through it become emotionally unstoppable. Now listen carefully to this part. One soulmate test almost always appears right before emotional breakthrough. Miscommunication. A misunderstanding. A cold conversation. An unexpected emotional reaction. A moment where both people suddenly feel disconnected. And this is the exact moment most relationships fail. Because instead of seeking understanding, people protect their ego. Silence becomes punishment. Pride becomes a weapon. Distance becomes emotional manipulation. But soulmate connections require something higher. Emotional accountability. That means being mature enough to say, I misunderstood you. I reacted from fear. I should have communicated better. I let my emotions control me. Those words heal relationships. But ego hates those words. That's why emotionally immature people sabotage deep connections constantly. They want love but refuse growth. And soulmate love always demands growth. Sometimes your soulmate may test whether you can handle honesty. Real honesty. Not the comfortable kind. The uncomfortable kind. The kind that exposes your blind spots. Your emotional habits. Your unhealthy patterns. And if you become defensive every time truth appears, the connection struggles to evolve. Because deep love cannot survive fake communication forever. At some point, masks fall off. And your soulmate wants to know, can you handle the real version of me? And can you handle the real version of yourself? That is terrifying for many people, because honesty removes illusion. And illusion is comfortable. A lot of people are not in love with their soulmate. They are in love with the fantasy they created about them. But real soulmate love begins when fantasy dies and authentic connection remains. That's why some soulmate relationships become stronger after conflict. It's not weaker, because conflict reveals emotional truth. It reveals whether two people are willing to understand each other beyond pride. And honestly, that kind of love is rare now. Most people leave when things become emotionally difficult. Few people stay long enough to truly understand another soul deeply. That's why soulmate connections feel sacred. They force emotional depth. And depth scares people who are used to surface-level relationships. Now let's talk about another hidden test. Your soulmate may test your consistency. Not grand romantic gestures. Not dramatic speeches. Consistency. Do your actions match your words? Can they trust your energy over time? Do you disappear emotionally when life becomes stressful? Do you only show love when it's convenient? Because trust is built through repeated emotional safety, not temporary intensity. A soulmate connection may begin with passion, but it survives through stability. And emotionally stable love feels unfamiliar to people addicted to chaos. Some people confuse anxiety with chemistry, confusion with attraction, emotional pain with passion. But healthy soulmate love eventually brings clarity, not constant suffering. Yes, there may be lessons. Yes, there may be challenges. But true soulmate love should inspire growth, not emotional destruction. That distinction matters deeply. Now here's something your soulmate may never say out loud. They are watching how you treat yourself. That's right. Your relationship with yourself affects the relationship completely. If you constantly abandon your needs, ignore your intuition, accept disrespect, or seek love from desperation, the connection becomes unstable. Because people teach others how to treat them emotionally. And your soulmate may unconsciously test whether you value yourself enough to maintain healthy standards. This is why self-love is not selfish. It is foundational. Without self-respect, love becomes survival instead of connection. And survival mode destroys intimacy slowly. You become hyper-alert, emotionally reactive, constantly afraid of loss. But real love requires trust. Not blind trust in another person. Trust in yourself. Trust that no matter what happens, you will not abandon your own soul trying to keep someone else. The energy changes relationships completely. Because emotionally grounded people love differently. They don't beg for attention constantly. They don't manipulate for reassurance. They don't chase validation endlessly. They communicate. They observe. They stay authentic. And that calm emotional strength becomes deeply attractive. Now I want you to hear this carefully, because this next part may explain your entire situation. Sometimes your soulmate disappears temporarily because they are losing the internal battle with themselves. Not because you were unlovable. Read that again emotionally. Not because you were unlovable. People project their unhealed wounds onto deep connections all the time. Someone can love you deeply and still fear commitment. Still fear vulnerability. Still fear emotional dependence. Still fear being hurt again. And when soulmate-level emotions appear, those fears intensify dramatically. Because the stakes suddenly feel real. That's why emotionally wounded people often run from the very connection they prayed for. It overwhelms them. And if you take their fear personally, you may destroy your own peace. Sometimes the greatest soulmate lesson is learning that another person's emotional confusion is not proof of your lack of worth. That realization heals people deeply. Comment below right now. I will not confuse someone's fear with my value. That sentence alone can transform your mindset. Because too many people internalize rejection emotionally. But spiritually, rejection sometimes protects you, redirects you, or delays something until both souls are ready. And yes, sometimes soulmate connections return stronger later after both people grow emotionally. But here's the important truth nobody likes hearing. You cannot build a healthy connection by carrying the entire emotional weight alone. Both people must choose growth eventually. Both people must choose honesty, communication, emotional responsibility. Otherwise, the connection stays trapped in cycles. Hot and cold, push and pull, love and confusion. And soulmates are not meant to stay trapped forever in emotional chaos. They are meant to evolve beyond it. That evolution begins the moment both people stop reacting unconsciously and start loving consciously. And maybe that is the real soulmate test after all. Not whether you can feel intense emotions, but whether you can transform those emotions into wisdom. Whether you can love without losing yourself. Communicate without attacking. Stay open without becoming emotionally dependent. Remain patient without tolerating disrespect. That balance is rare. But when two people finally reach that level emotionally, soulmate love becomes one of the most transformative experiences a human being can feel. So if this message found you during confusion, separation, silence, or emotional uncertainty, take a deep breath and remember this. Not every delay means rejection. Not every challenge means failure. And not every test is designed to break you. Some tests are designed to reveal the strength your soul didn't know it already had. If you're still watching right now, comment. Real love begins with healing. And if this message touched something deep inside you, subscribe, like this video, and stay connected for the next message, because the next video may explain why soulmate connections become distant right before reunion. And there is one more truth about soulmate connections that people almost never understand until they experience it personally. Sometimes your soulmate tests whether you can recognize love, even when it does not arrive in the form you expected. Because many people are addicted to fantasy. They imagine perfect timing, perfect words, perfect emotional certainty, perfect behavior. But real human beings are complicated. Your soulmate may love you deeply and still struggle with fear. Still need healing. Still make mistakes. Still have moments of confusion. And this creates one of the hardest emotional questions you will ever face. Can you tell the difference between someone who is imperfect and someone who is unhealthy for you? That level of emotional discernment changes your entire life. Because not every difficult connection is toxic. And not every intense connection is healthy. Some people mistake emotional chaos for destiny. But spiritually aligned love eventually creates peace inside growth. Not endless emotional destruction. Yes, soulmate connections can feel intense. But they should also inspire self-awareness, emotional maturity, and healing over time. Not constant emotional suffering. And that is why your intuition matters so much. Your soulmate may test whether you trust your inner voice. Not social media opinions. Not fear. Not overthinking. Your intuition. Because deep down, your soul often knows when love is genuine. Even before your mind understands it. That explains why certain connections stay in your heart for years. Why certain people change you permanently. Why some souls feel strangely familiar. Psychologists may call it emotional imprinting. Spiritually, others may call it soul recognition. But either way, some connections leave fingerprints on your spirit forever. And the scary part is this. Once you experience a true soul-level connection, surface-level relationships become harder to tolerate. Because your soul remembers depth. That's why after meeting your soulmate, you may suddenly lose interest in fake conversations, shallow attraction, and emotionally unavailable people. You begin craving something real. Something emotionally honest. Spiritually aligned. Mentally peaceful. And your soulmate may secretly be testing whether you are finally ready for that level of authenticity. Can you stop performing and start being real? That question matters more than people realize. Because so many relationships fail from emotional performance. People pretend to be okay when they are hurt. Pretend to be strong when they need reassurance. Pretend not to care when they care deeply. And eventually, the relationship becomes emotionally disconnected. Soulmate energy breaks masks. That's why these connections feel exposing. You feel emotionally seen. Sometimes too seen. Your soulmate notices changes in your tone, your energy, your silence, your emotional withdrawal. And honestly, that level of emotional visibility can feel terrifying. Because you cannot hide forever in a deep soul connection. Eventually, the truth surfaces. And your soulmate may be testing whether you can handle emotional transparency without running away. Can you express needs without shame? Can you admit fear without pretending to be emotionally untouchable? Can you allow yourself to be loved without sabotaging it? That last one is huge. Many people secretly sabotage soulmate connections because love feels unfamiliar to their nervous system.